You're listening to The Daily Mayo, a podcast from BBC Radio 5 Live. For more information, go online.
bbc.co.uk/5live. Hello and welcome to another Daily Mayo. Paddy Considine has a new movie out. It's called Donk Scor-zay-zee and it's directed by Shane Meadows. And we had Paddy in the studio to talk about it. Hello, Paddy. How are you?
Hello, Simon. I'm good, thank you.
It's very good to have you in the studio. And this is an interesting film on a whole number of levels. I just want to clear up some business. We have a slightly different approach to our reviews today because Mark Como's got swine flu, so we're just cobbling some stuff together. And our reviewers, Nigel Floyd from Time Out and Boyd Hilton from Heat Magazine, they haven't seen the Jennifer Aniston film, so I'm just inviting listeners just to review it anyway, even if they haven't seen it.
Right.
Have you seen it?
I haven't, no.
No, it's called Love Happens.
Okay.
And it's got Jennifer Aniston in it.
There you go. That's a good recipe? Yes, it is.
Well, this is the first review goes like this. Simon, this is Hassan in Reading. Haven't seen the movie, but this is what I think. Boy, Clive Owen. Girl, Jennifer Aniston. Boy meets girl, impromptu moment. Boy likes girl. Girl not sure about boy. Girl has friend who thinks boy is perfect for her. Girl still not sure about boy. Boy tries to woo girl. Girl goes against her judgment and sleeps with boy. Girl finds out something, thinks boy is lying. Girl thinks I should have trusted my judgment. Boy clears up confusion. Boy and girl make up, and boy and girl live happily ever after. Would you take that as a kind of a plot scenario, do you think?
I feel like I've seen the film now.
That's right. That's all you need. Now, this film that you've done is extraordinary for, first of all, budget and time. So before we talk about the content, what happens in your character, and all those other things, which people always talk about, how long for this film?
This film was shot in 5 days, all in.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You can't do a film in 5 days.
You can't do certain kinds of films in 5 days, definitely, but this was slightly different because we didn't have a script and we just it was an improvised piece that we made up as we kind of went along. And we did it with our own money, so we didn't have restrictions from other people.
You did it with your own money?
Yeah. We Warp Films put up the bulk of the money. Who we've had a history of working with anyway.
This is you and Shane Meadows?
Myself and Shane Meadows, yeah. And I'd done a short with Chris Morris with Warp and a couple of other little pieces and Dead Man's Shoes that Shane directed, and then This Is England. And I think the Donk came about just because, Shane had a tough time putting together This Is England in the edit, and I think that once he'd toured it and done all the Q&As, the subject matter was a bit heavy on him, and just wanted to sort of get some of that immediacy back that used to be there when we used to make short films.
Guerrilla filmmaking.
Yeah. I think, you raise money to make a film and then everybody on board kind of convinces you how not to make it.
Well, he was a victim of his own success then, because This Is England was a terrific film, and he came on this programme. We were talking to him about it, and it was a big hit. So that was a bit of a burden then, obviously, after a while.
I think so. Yeah. I just think there's a place for any kind of film, And Le Donk was just one idea of us, working within certain rules to take put some of the fun back into it. On films, there's a lot of sort of waiting around for things to happen, and there's a short amount of time for you to sort of get creative, particularly as an actor as well. It's you wait around while they light it, yes. and then you call to set and you're expected to sort of get in there and get the creativity going. And it's sometimes hard to keep that energy going, but with something like The Donk, we could just keep it going all day. And it was just liberating to kind of go back to that way of filmmaking with no pressure.
So how much money did it cost?
It cost about £50,000.
5 days, 50 grand. There must... is that an arbitrary limit that you've put? Why not 7 days and 70,000?
I just think because it could go on, and I think sometimes it's great to have... This is the kind of contradiction, if you like. It's great to be kind of free of it, but also it's good to have some kind of boundary in place. So we knew that there was a lid on it, that we couldn't go any further, and we knew we had this short amount of time to kind of get the material down. And we'd got the passes to the Arctic Monkeys show. We'd got backstage passes because the character of LeDonc's a roadie.
Right, so that would be a perfect time then to explain the story then behind the movie, having done the mechanics of how it happened.
Yeah, well, LeDonc's a character we've had for a long time, about 10 years or so, and it was just an impersonation or a character I created out of a lot of guys around the music scene in our hometown of Burton-on-Trent. And various other people as well. But we found him quite funny, and we'd made a few short films with him, and close friends had found it funny, and we thought it was just a sort of in-joke. But we'd sort of always wanted to do something bigger with him other than a few short films, and we wrote a feature for this character, and it just wouldn't sort of fit in, if you like. And so we just got this opportunity to try and see if we could do anything with LeDonk. But he's effectively a roadie who's a sort of disillusioned guy, but at the same time, he's one of these guys in the music business or in any business he's not particularly talented, but latches on the coattails of very talented people and thinks that they're going to be his ticket out of, his mundane life.
And it has to be said, he's not a very nice person.
He's not very nice, no. He's pretty brutal with his tongue. And we had to make sure that we humanised him through the course of the film because he is brutal, but it kind of, LeDonc's kind of sense of humour, attitude, if you like, it just comes out of the kind of, I don't know, banter really that I've grown up around, and I've like worked on building sites with my brother, and that kind of, banter gets them through the day.
You were in a band with Shane Mathers.
Yeah.
So, which was She Talks with Angels?
She Talks to Angels.
She Talks to Angels. What kind of music did you play?
Well, we had the name She Talks to Angels came from the Black Crowes song, which is a beautiful song, but we weren't really a rock and roll band, so we don't know how we came about it, but we sort of played, it was sort of Ned's Atomic Dustbin kind of stuff. It was like 1991, so there was a bit of baggy going on in there and various things.
But presumably you didn't have a roadie because you would have done it all yourself.
No, we didn't have a roadie, but we had people who kind of suddenly wanted to manage us. I mean, we weren't very good, really. We did our first gig after being together for 3 weeks, and then we were in the studio recording songs 6 weeks after, and we were ready to take on the world. But we had talent, but we just weren't there as a band, nowhere near. But people still were turning up wanting to manage us and and represent us and promised us record deals, etc.
And what did you do?
I was the drummer.
You were the drummer. What was Shane?
Shane sang.
Okay, so he was the front man.
He was the front man, yeah.
Because we actually get to see Shane in this film. Particularly at the beginning, we see him with his camera.
Yeah. That's something.
He doesn't look like a front man. Just an observation. He doesn't look like the classic kind of front man from.
Oh well, back in the day, Shane was like, he was weighed in at an even 12 stone, and he looked the business. He was the interesting student with his shaved head, and he had a little tuft of hair at the front and all that. And
that was a while back then.
That was a while back.
He's done a lot of Q&A since then. You want to carry on your conversation with Paddy here?
I've read a lot about the film, and the idea that it was done in 5 days is phenomenal, and I really wanted to go and see it, but I couldn't find anywhere. Well, this was a very cursory look yesterday.
Is this going to be one of the films, Paddy, that people think, oh, that's quite interesting, and then have to hunt for it a bit?
Well, a little bit, yeah. Unfortunately, we haven't got massive distribution on it, so but it is playing out there in London and up and down the country, but. I know for a fact it's on at the Curzon Cinema in Soho. But interestingly enough, it's out on the cinemas, and then I think towards the end of the month it's released on DVD. So it's a sort of a quick...
That soon?
Yeah.
But I suppose if you've just spent a few £1,000 on it, then that's the way you're going to get some money back, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that's kind of the idea, hopefully, in the DVD sales and stuff. But we do hope people do go out to cinemas and watch it.
Tell us about, you've explained LeDonk. Why is he called LeDonk, by the way?
I have no idea.
Okay. Scor-zay-zee, where does he come from?
Scor-zay-zee came on board through some workshops Shane was doing. We were trying to get people to interact with LeDonk and be the guys lodging in his house, etc. And Scor-zay-zee came along and met with Shane. He didn't even come to audition. A friend recommended Shane should meet him, and Shane sat down with him and he started sort of doing his raps for Shane, and I think the idea of LeDonk having an actual talent that he could take along to this Arctic Monkeys show with him became the sort of one of the main threads of the story. But Scor-zay-zee is he's a genuine rapper. He's from Nottingham, and he's very well known on the underground rap scene. And he's been played on Radio 1 a load of times. Tim Westwood played him a lot, and his hits on YouTube are phenomenal. So he's already a kind of cult figure.
But didn't he turn up for an audition, or so he was just going to play like a minor part? He wasn't expecting to be a co-star alongside yourself.
No, he was just supposed to be somebody in the flat. But the great thing about him was that because it's so improvised, and LeDonk's like a juggernaut with his mouth. When I was improvising with some of the other actors, they were kind of trying to compete with LeDonk, and it didn't work. And he was sort of the only one who sat there and kind of soaked up Donk's verbal attack and then came back with a really witty line. He didn't try to compete, and it was perfect. So the chemistry started to kind of develop from there.
Have you ever made a film? I mean, I know you work with Shane a lot, but have you ever worked with improvisation to this extent?
No, not really. Not without rehearsal, because we improvised on Romeo Brass and Dead Man's Shoes and a few other films that I've done with other directors like Pavel Pavlikovsky and even Jim Sheridan, to some extent. But they were always rehearsed before we went for a take, whereas this was literally, I was in character all day and Scores was, himself all day, and we just went with the thrust of the story. So whatever came out. There were no second takes or anything.
Yeah. I imagine when you're in a Bourne film, there's no room for improvisation at all.
No room.
Would I be right?
Yeah, none whatsoever. Yeah.
So if you're going to get shot under the direction of Paul Greengrass, you do what it says in the script, and you follow everything to the letter.
You don't go up to Paul and say, "Paul, please don't shoot me. I want to come back for number 4. It's a dead good payday."
Yeah. That was a great sequence, though, wasn't it?
It was a great sequence, yeah, it really was. He's a master of that, Paul Greengrass, just putting those sequences together, and the tension's amazing. It was great to see him working with Matt.
Just some correspondence here. Ian in Burton. Paddy just wanted to say what a brilliant character actor Paddy is. The UK's De Niro, says Ian. Followed his career from the very start. It's only a matter of time before he becomes a major Hollywood star. Now, I saw an interesting quote from Shane talking about you, that actually you had no ambition at all, and that was one of the things that marked you out as an actor, was that you really couldn't be bothered with all that Hollywood stuff. But when you did that little appearance, well, not a little appearance, it was a sort of key moment in the Bourne film. Presumably there are some Hollywood directors who go, he's good, we'll have him.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I've never... I think I got the Bourne gig because Paul had seen Dead Man's Shoes and a couple of other films I'd done with Pavel Pavlikovsky, but it's a strange one, really, because I never came through the traditional route of acting, like going to drama school and learning techniques in how to even audition for things. Even when I got onto the set of The Bourne, I just felt a little bit lost, and it's a fantastic sequence, but I still came away feeling like I hadn't sort of given Paul Greengrass my best work, so it's slightly frustrating in a way. I think I wanted to go in there and show him all I got, but I'm an actor. I don't have a career, ambitions for a huge career as such. As an actor, I create my own work, but also you have to really be dependent on what work's coming in. So every few years, if you can be involved in a movie like Bourne, it's just a bonus. But there isn't a great desire to go out and start, pursuing a career in Hollywood like some people have. It's just, I just want to do interesting work, and if that's like television with Red Riding or stuff like LeDonk, then that's where I want to be.
Dave Morrissey gave you good kicking.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember that. He won't in real life. He won't last 30 seconds. Really?
So if it was a real fight, Dave Morrissey versus Paddy Considine, you'd have him?
Are you listening, Morrissey, out there? I'll put out a challenge.
This is Alistair in... Actually, be a whole new TV series, wouldn't it? Real actors really fighting.
Well, the problem is, I love Dave. He's a big mate of mine, so it wouldn't work.
And he's directed his first film, which is being premiered at the London Film Festival, and I'm halfway through it.
Great.
And it's good. It's really good. He's a little bit nervous about it, I think.
Oh, I bet he is, yeah, but no, he knows how it works.
Alistair in Northern Ireland. Paddy was great in Dead Man's Shoes. Sorry, he says, Paddy was amazing in Dead Man's Shoes. One of the best films I've ever seen. Paddy's performance was nothing short of incredible. The scene in the cafe when Paddy is sitting with his brother and gives a rather colourful response to the question, "What are you looking at?" Makes the hair stand on my neck every time I watch it. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, mate.
Dominic in Leeds. Paddy is in a great band called Ride the Low. I saw them in Leeds recently, and they were a brilliant reflection of Guided by Voices. Paddy is now he's one of my favourite actors, and Guided by Voices are one of my favourite bands. Back of the net, says Dominic.
Thank you, Dominic. Come again, mate. We'll be up there again.
So Ride the Low. This is your musical career moving on. She talks to angels. So you've left that behind.
Yeah, that was a very, very long time ago. She Talks to Angels. That was about 1991.
So Ride the Low, what kind of stuff is that?
Well, it's actually Riding the Low.
Riding the Low.
Yeah,
Dominic, you've got to get the name right.
Come on, Dominic. And it's like an indie rock band. Usually, I'm inspired anyway by Robert Pollard and Guided by Voices. But we've got our first EP out on the 9th of November called "They Will Rob You of Your Gifts." I'll plug it. Why not, man? And no, I just love doing it. I think it's great. It's as valid to me as any of the acting, writing that I've done or directing. You know.
And the music bit is worth mentioning, just because the Arctic Monkeys are part of this story, which you haven't quite explained. Is part of this improvisational film that you've done, as you mentioned before, done over 5 days, spent about 50 grand, and you end up, is it at Old Trafford for an Arctic Monkeys gig?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they played their first, I think it was their first big outdoor shows that kind of were their own, and they were at Old Trafford. It's actually 2 summers ago now. And because of the link that we had through Warp Films, they'd done a couple of videos for the Arctic Monkeys and the Sheffield connection, we were able to get these backstage passes. So as far as Donk was concerned, we had a focus, we had a destination where we could get to, and we could use the fact that the Old Trafford gigs, Donk could go along there and be a roadie, and that's sort of how it came about. But the climax of the film is we're trying to get on stage to perform. I'm trying to showcase Scor-zay-zee in front of 50,000 Arctic Monkeys fans, and
was that scary?
I thought it was the seconds before going on, it was really frightening. But once we're on there, it was great. But coming off stage, it was just high. It was just incredible, the adrenaline. But luckily, we got the slot because they were generous enough to let us get on there and open the day.
What did the Arctic Monkeys fans make of this weird-looking roadie with a hat on and this rapper thinking, hang on, this isn't what I was expecting?
I think they... down the front they were enjoying it. If you see the film, you can see how the kids were getting into it. I think they were just. I've stood at concerts myself for hours on end, just waiting for the support acts to come on, and I'd welcome anybody coming on and entertaining me if they've just stood there juggling. So I think they welcomed it.
A few more minutes with Paddy. Also, Kevin Smith joins us, filmmaker, writer, actor. He's got a book out. Can't mention the title, but anyway, Kevin, it's nice to have you on the programme. How are you, sir?
Excellent to be here, sir. How are you? Sorry I'm not there in studio.
No, that's very good. It's just very good to have you on the programme. Have you ever met Paddy Considine here?
Met him? I've had him in my house. He sat at my dining room table. Him and Simon Pegg came over with Edgar one night. You remember that, Paddy?
I do, Kevin. I'm amazed you remember that. Yeah, I do, yeah.
I was shocked and disappointed that you didn't bust out your band right there. We could have used a house band that night.
It was a very nice do, by the way. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming.
Okay, well,
and not stealing any soap or towels either. That was very courteous of you.
This is from Spence. Paddy is an unbelievable actor, great musician, and he can do Northern soul dancing. My question is there anything he can't do?
Oh, I can't say what I can't do on air. I've got a response to that question, but it's rude.
Oh, okay, good. Well, let's not start down there. And
featured in one of Kevin's, featured in Clerks.
Oh, there it is.
Right, okay.
I know what he's talking about.
That'll be one of the many things that don't get mentioned over the next few. And worth saying, Paddy, just while you're here, that before the people think, Steve Coogan and Saxondale, that your character, Le Donk, has been around for a very long time, and you've been working on it for, as you said before, 10, 15 years. I mean, this character's been... It sort of predates Saxondale, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. We've had him for, about around 10 years or so. So... we come up with that idea first, but there you go. Now,
while we've got two filmmakers here and up at the same time, I just wanted to talk about getting films made and budgets and how the companies are reacting to it. Because Kevin, we were hearing from Paddy earlier. This film that he's around and talking about, which is called Le Donk Scor-zay-zee, was filmed. It was an improv film done over 5 days for £50,000. Have you ever done anything like that?
No. I took 21 days and $27,000, which would be, close to God, what would that be? Less, way less. Like 13,000 or 14, 15,000, depending on the exchange. No, what they did, it takes true talent to do. I, being talentless, took more time and more money.
So that was Clerks that was $27,000.
Yeah, Clerks was $27,575.
So then after that, because that was such a big hit, presumably, next one along, you get a bit more money to spend. Somebody, second time out, they gave us money, and we wanted way less. We actually asked for $3 million, and they said we couldn't make a movie for less than $6 million. And I said, we just made a movie for like $28,000. They said, that's not really a movie now, is it? So in terms of getting funding, Paddy, I mean, did you just, because this was, you were saying before, it was like a reaction to making, from Shane Meadows' point of view, a reaction to This Is England, did you just not want to have lots of money from the studios? You deliberately wanted to spend your own money?
What we didn't want was just people interfering in the process, because people see an artist, love what the artist does, offers them money, artist takes it, and then they spend their time, kind of dissecting the artist's work and kind of, moulding them into something else. And then we just got tired of people telling us what we couldn't do, really. That was one of the other reasons for making Le Donk.
Does this sound familiar, Kevin?
Oh, very much so. Back for me, it was sitting around watching movies for 21, 22 years and finally saying, I as much as I love being entertained by other people and misadventures and fantasies and sci-fi and action and all that stuff, I would love to look up on the screen and see myself represented. And there was no representation of me up there. And so I was just like, you know what, let's make it and put it up there. If it doesn't exist, then fill the hole. And we did, and now it's a whole different world. Like now I throw a rock and I can hit a movie about me. Every week there's some loser at the heart of a story where, he's the winner somehow. I mean, Seth Rogen's playing the Green Hornet, for heaven's sakes. The geeks have won. So I just don't... the same passion that drove me the first time, which is like, I don't see myself, I can't answer to anymore because that doesn't exist. I do see myself. And it's weird, at a certain point in your life, film it goes from being a passion to a vocation, and that's where I am right now. It's my job more than anything else, and I love my job. It's the best job in the world, but it stopped being this thing that a 22, 23-year-old was like, I got to get this off my chest, full of passion and brio, and then 15 years later you suddenly realize, oh, this is what I do for a living. I'm my father at this point, even though he didn't direct films. He worked at the post office, but, suddenly I have a career type thing. It's no longer just a job.
Honey?
I would agree with that, yeah. There's that stuff that gets born out, sort of desperation, and then you do look around and go, yeah, this has become my job now. And my biggest struggle has just been, how do I keep my job interesting to me? How do I stop from just being a guy turning up at auditions and waiting for other people to tell me how talented I am or not, or talented I'm not? I just think Le Donk was one of those things where I thought, I'm also tired of waiting for people to give me a job.
Yeah, and is there... I mean, this movie runs about 71 minutes, which is fantastic. I mean, really, short, refreshing. Haven't seen anything like this for a while. 71 minutes, bang, you're gone. And I just wonder whether there is a longer version of this made with money, studio money, that won't take 5 days. That actually, it's almost like, with no disrespect, it's almost like a pilot for a 2-hour film.
Yeah, well, I think the problem with calling our film a pilot are probably the problems that Kevin had with Clerks. I mean, Clerks is a movie, as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't matter how many days it was shot in. I guess
what I'm saying is maybe there's more to come from the Donk.
Oh, definitely, yeah, but I don't think we're going to change the format. I don't think we're going to take any more money or have any more influence. We're going to do it exactly the same way as we did the first one.
Paddy, fantastic to have you on. I really appreciate that. Thanks very much. I wish you all the best. What do we see you in after Le Donk?
I'm doing a film with Richard Ayoade called Submarine, which is shooting in Wales in a few weeks, so we start that then.
Paddy Considine, really appreciate you coming in. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Cheers, Kevin.
Bye, Paddy. Good talking to you again.
Cheers, mate.
That's Paddy Considine. The movie is Donk Scor-zay-zee. Thanks for listening. More next week.
Thanks for downloading this BBC Radio 5 Live podcast. And if you like this, you might also like this.
Simon Mayo and Mark Kermode's film review.
Good afternoon.
That sounds so surprised.
No sport. Well, it's.
Oh no, we're not at a sporting event.
Not at a sporting event.
No. Where's the cricket?
Be.
Where's the tennis? Where's the stuff?
So now look, there's some interesting movies coming in. Lots of the correspondence basically is about Antichrist.
Great.
It's about Harry Potter.
Have people seen
and
Antichrist?
It's about Moon. Some people have seen it already. So we'll get to all those. Also, Charles Dickens' England appears to be out. Just Another Love Story and The Proposal.
For details of other 5 Live podcasts, go to the website bbc.co.uk/5live.